What are y'all doing?
I don't know. Everybody's sniffing.
You're snorting and coughing.
Sounds like the beginning of Bonanza.
And we're rolling.
Uh-oh.
Is that on tape?
Maybe.
Oh, mercy. Please disregard this.
Back to the Future. I started a story back in Paris that I wanted to add another little line to about when my mother made a lemon pie and set it out to cool in the kitchen and came back after a while and there was a little scoop out of it and she looked around and John was nearby and she says, "John, did you get in my pie?" And he says, "No, ma'am." And she says, "John, did you get in my pie?" "No, ma'am." "John, did you get in my pie?" "No, ma'am. Mr. Boyd's chickens get your pie." And she was just laughed and she hugged him and she said, "Oh, John, what makes you so sweet?" He says, "Your pie."
That is neat.
He doesn't need a lawyer, does he?
That's
Charm the
funny.
ladies.
I'm glad you shared that.
Since we're back in Paris, can I tell another little story? Daddy used to preach sometimes at a little, on weeknights or something, or Sunday nights, I don't know, at a little church called Cherry Street Mission. And we'd go with him sometimes.
Is that in Chakotay?
No, this is in Paris.
Yeah,
He did preach Chakotay too.
Yeah.
And one of the little ladies there named Miss Josie passed away. And when she did, the next Sunday that we went, Mother didn't go, but she says, "Now remember, Miss Josie died, so you be sure and remember, to say something." So when I went to the church with Daddy, and when we got home that night, I plumb forgot to remember Miss Josie. So I feel so bad. And another church story while I'm there in Paris. Let me get out of there. When Daddy would preach out in the country, sometimes they'd call him out at some little church, and we'd always get invited out to eat at the one of the members' houses, and we loved that. I mean, you'd always have big piles of fried chicken and everything. And one place we went, they had a big old horse that was theirs, for the kids to ride, I guess. And I wanted to ride it so bad. So they put me up on it, big kind of a pale blonde horse, but to me it was huge because I was probably 4 years old. And it would just and it went around the house and stopped in the backyard, and everybody else was out front, and I was scared to death. I was stuck on this horse, and I just had to sit there when somebody came and got me and led it back around.
That was in Paris?
That was it was outside up in the country around Paris somewhere. Yeah. So
I don't remember that. I must have been in the front yard.
you didn't care. I was gone. Got rid of her.
Where is who?
So that was. You have any more Paris memory? Do you have any memories?
No.
Okay. Shall we move on to Freeport?
Okay.
Go.
Freeport, somebody. John, take it. Well, we moved to Freeport. I guess I was like 5.5 years old, something like that, I think, when we moved. And so I started school there, kindergarten and first grade, on up through, I guess, 10th grade. We moved to Dallas, and so I finished up school in Dallas, finished up high school there. But we got involved in a number of things in Freeport. I was just becoming of age at 5.5, and 6, and 7. When I got up to 8 years old, then I could play on a baseball team, and they had Little League there. It's like 8 through 12 years of age, and I got lucky and got on a really good team. They're called the Red Sox, and we won the league each year. They were a really good team. I wasn't anything special at all, but I played center field and played shortstop when they needed me. But it was a good team and enjoyed playing those 4 years. And then at 13, I played 1 year of junior teenage ball. I wasn't that good, but I enjoyed playing and loved it. It was a lot of fun.
That's what it's for. It's a fun game.
And then, 7th grade went to, let's see, 13 years old, we went on into the 7th grade, I guess, then. And I played basketball in junior high. I was on the B team. Enjoyed that. I wasn't that good. I was like 4'11". These other guys were like 6 feet tall. So they were faster and quicker and could shoot the ball. And I'd have to shoot from mid-court to get a shot off. They'd cram it down my throat if I didn't. I wouldn't even come close to the backboard. It was that far away. But I always had a good time with the basketball and with the baseball growing on up.
Well, after school, you always had a bunch of little boys in our yard out on Broad Street playing ball, football or baseball or something.
Yeah.
Always.
Next-
A bunch of them.
The church was next door to us, and they built the fellowship hall first, and then later the sanctuary. And before the sanctuary was built, there was just a big lot there. We could play baseball or football or whatever, and so we'd go over there and do that. And before that, during that time too, we'd go over to the fellowship hall where the ping pong table was set up, up on the stage, and we'd play ping pong. And Mother and Daddy both played ping pong, and we all inherited the like for it and loved playing. In fact, I played ping pong in intramurals in high school and college.
You did?
Yeah, that was fun, yeah. Enjoyed it. But anyway, that was, we moved to, I guess, Dallas when I was, for my junior, senior years. And I'd grown up going to school and everything in Freeport, town of 5,000, but with the Velasco and all that. The high school was like 1,800 students or something like that. It was big because it was
I
Lake
thought it
Jackson.
was 3,000 in that
Oh,
high
I
school.
don't know what it was.
I was thinking it was 2,000 something.
I thought it was
like
1,000. We'll take
We'll
it
take an
out.
average, 2,000, like I said. But it was Freeport, Clute, Velasco, I think Lake Jackson.
Oyster Creek, Jones Creek.
Oyster Creek and Jones Creek.
Are you impressed? All these names.
Then we moved to Dallas, and the school was about the same size, maybe a little bit bigger, Bryan Adams High School. I didn't get involved in any of the athletics there. Trying to think.
What was your favorite course in school generally? Besides,
Study hall.
Yeah.
Lunch.
Lunch and study hall. I finally got in Dallas. I got a good teacher in biology and got an interest in biology then.
Teacher makes a difference.
The teacher makes a lot of difference.
Yeah.
I graduated from Bryan Adams High School and went on to North Texas my first year studying. Well, no, after I got out of high school, we'd already had 2 kids going through college, and on a preacher's salary didn't have that much money. And so when I got out of high school, instead of going on to college, since we were broke, I went into the military. And it was an 8-year obligation, but it was just 6 months active duty, and then 3.5 years active reserve, and then 4 years standby reserve, where I didn't go to meetings or anything. But in my active duty, I went to Fort Ord, California, did basic training. Then I went to Fort Gordon, Georgia after that. And in basic training, you just do everything. You know, you're carrying a 68-pound bag or whatever it was on your back, and you're tromping through the sand and everything with an M1 rifle. After I got out of the military, 6 months active duty, and then I worked 6 months, and I guess Moco Better Monkey Grip is where it was. I was
In Dallas.
in Dallas. I was a sole stockman at that point, and they made all the tire and tube repair material for Western Auto, United Distributors, Sovereign Mats. They made floor mats for cars, and I put everything up in stock. And the presses that made the floor mats ran 24 hours a day. And so I'd get there like at 7 o'clock in the morning, drive 30 miles across town, or 30 minutes across town, and then get there, and there were skids just stacked high, like 13 boxes of 78 pounds each. And
Heavy.
bunches and bunches of skids piled up with them like that.
Now you got your muscles.
Yeah, they did.
Now, did you get there riding on a motorcycle or a car? Or?
I did have a motorcycle there for a while because we didn't have a car. That's right.
From North Dallas?
A little Yamaha.
East Dallas.
Yeah, East Dallas.
East Dallas?
Yamaha
South
90, I believe it was. That's right. And I'd go over there in the highways and freeways and everything, and come zipping in. But anyway, the presses would run. I'd get there about 7 o'clock in the morning and start putting stuff up. And as soon as I got caught up, I could go home. Well, it took from 7 o'clock in the morning until maybe 7 or 8 o'clock at night
Oh my
to
goodness.
do it.
Goodness.
There are days that I worked 17 hours sometimes. And then I
Were
go
you
back
paid by the
across.
hour?
I was paid by the hour. I think it was, well,
Yeah.
now you would, I mean,
No.
$1.55 an hour doesn't sound like much.
I know.
Now, I forgot what it was. But I had more overtime than regular time in. It was six days a week, and 16 to 17 hours a day.
And Sundays collapsed. I guess.
Sundays I collapsed, went to church and collapsed. But I put up everything that they made because I was sole stock man. And as soon as I get caught up, I could go home. And so I worked hard and fast. I just ran everywhere. And I'd have to haul, the skids would be piled high with these like 17 boxes. And I'd get a jack and pump it up and pull them up to a conveyor belt. And then take them off on the conveyor belt and it goes upstairs. And then I'd go run upstairs and it would carry
take them
up.
off?
It would take rollers down and it would roll like that. And then I had to take them off. I'd do them, every box I'd do twice. And then I had to put it in the stack.
Oh God.
And then I'd go back and get another skid and haul it up and haul them on the conveyor belt, run up there, and and then I'd come back and finish up the conveyor belt again until I got through that whole skid. And they were in this was kind of the attic type situation where it was. It was just kind of a second floor for part of the building. Where the presses were, and out there you could look up there and you see like a platform up there for the second story.
Mezzanine or something.
Yeah. But there were I-beams up there, metal about as thick as my hand here, and they would run like this, and they're flat on the bottom, flat on the top, and then an eye down the middle is an I-beam. And those I-beams were this high.
Goodness.
And I'd get going fast, and I'd go wham, and all of a sudden I'm laying on my back, and just stars all over the
Oh,
place. I'd be
my.
slinging that box, and I'd hit one of those
Oh,
things,
Charlie.
and stagger around for a while, and then go get some more boxes, and then keep going.
Well, that would explain a lot, wouldn't it?
It does.
Oh,
Good night, John. I never
But
heard the
anyway,
details of that.
but did that until 6.5 months or something like that, and then went to college. And went to North Texas my first year because it was just close to Dallas and Denton. And I had no idea what I was going to major in. I didn't have any interest in anything. I didn't have the talents that they had. And I got up there, and at North Texas my first year, and I had a botany professor. It was as boring and as lousy as could be. And the next semester, I had Dr. Guthrie. I had a zoology professor, study of animals, and he was really good and really got me interested in zoology. Consequently, I decided to major in biology, or only took the minimum number of botany courses, and then all the rest of them were zoology courses.
But you took enough to meet Byron, didn't you? Didn't y'all have botany together somewhere, or was it chemistry together?
I think we had chemistry together. Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, I really liked that, and I decided I would major in biology with an emphasis in zoology. Take the minimum number of botany courses, and then all the rest in zoology. And after my first year there at North Texas, I knew I wanted to major in biology, and my mother was from Arkansas, and my cousins were from Arkansas. John Allen, Gary, and Linda from Mount Ida, Arkansas. My grandmother lived there. My aunt and uncle lived there. My grandmother's in Glenwood. My cousins and aunt and uncle were in Mount Ida. It's just beautiful country up there. We'd go up there as kids on vacations every summer, and I just loved the mountains and all that. And it was a good place to study zoology. And I went up so the second year, I transferred up to the University of Arkansas and majored in biology, or really zoology. And I had got one particular course that I really liked. It was called herpetology, the study of amphibians and reptiles. I had a really good professor and just enjoyed it, and decided that was going to be my emphasis on my master's degree, and did my thesis dealing with that. So anyway, my research for my thesis was at the Jasper State Fish Hatchery in Texas. And I would go down there every weekend, and I would start at about, at dark, and I'd work about till the sun came up. There were 63 earthen ponds. None of them were cemented in or anything. Most of them were 3/4 acre in size. Some of them were like an acre in size, and then the largest one was like 3 acres in size. And I would go around to each one of those. There were earthen ponds. There was grass right up into the water, a little bit of grass in the water. And I'd go around to each pond, those 63 ponds, once a week that night. And 1 foot in the water, 1 foot out. I'd go around, all the way around, and I had a bag that I guess my mother had made and sewed it up. Just a long bag like this made out of blue jean type material, and I'd tuck it under my belt, and I'd go around and catch the snakes. The fish hatchery was concerned that the snakes were eating. It's a state fish hatchery, so they had a lot of little fish and middle-sized fish and big fish, and they were afraid the snakes were eating a lot of the fish, and they needed to know whether to put up a snake fence around all these ponds. And that would be a fence that'd be embedded into the ground with a small enough mesh where snakes couldn't get in to get to the pond. If they could kill the snakes in there, in the ponds, then no more snakes get in, then they wouldn't be losing a lot. And they wanted to know if the snakes were really causing any damage to the fish, but they knew that they were eating some of them. So I do that and did that for a year, and every weekend. And 1 foot in the water, 1 foot out, and I had my snake stick and had a pistol there. If they were too far out, I'd shoot them. If they were right here, I'd step on them, or if they were just halfway out, I'd get them in my snake stick.
Yeah, did you put them in that bag?
And I'd put them in the bag, yeah. And then when I get back home, I'd leave like when the sun came up, because it took me all night to go around those 63 ponds. And the snakes that I had killed, I'd put in a refrigerator there at the university, Stephen and Faustin, and then get some sleep, and then I'd come back, and then I would cut them open, and see what they've been eating, and what type of fish, and how many fish, and all that. And it really was interesting. They would eat all types, but the most, I guess, I had one snake, the one that had the most fish in it, had a number of little fingerling fish, and it had, I think it was 35 or 36 fish in it. And so I was reporting this back to the fish hatchery to see, what they wanted to do.
Did you ever get snake bit?
Sort of.
Well, that would explain why you have one leg now.
But I would take him and I would put him in the sack. Well, one time I was putting a snake in, it went fling, and its fangs caught on me like this. It was just hanging there, like stuck into it. That was the closest to being bitten. I was very, very careful. I mean, I'm dealing with cottonmouths, copperheads,
By
broad-banded.
yourself out there, too.
Yeah, I was by myself. Everybody else was, and it was dark, and just a few lights out there in my headlight, shining down the
Mother
water.
didn't know.
But it was. I enjoyed doing it. It was a good exercise, and I slept well the next day. But anyway, that's what I did my research on for
But
my master's.
your
degree.
master's was at SFA, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's why I was. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd gone through zoology up there and taken herpetology and ichthyology. Ichthyology study fish, herpetology, amphibians, and reptiles, and then came back to SFA's to get my master's. I got my master's in education and then got another master's in zoology. And that's when I was doing the research down at Jasper.
Yeah,
that was in my master's degree.
While enrolled at SFA in
Yes.
the master's program.
Yeah. I'd already been to Arkansas and got my interest in herpetology. And then went back and taught for a while, Lamarck and LaPorte, and then in Nacogdoches. And I was working my master's degree, I guess, while I was in Nacogdoches. Because I would drive down there from here. So.
Do you tell the result of your studies?
Okay, they decided not to put the fence in. That would have been very expensive to put around all those ponds. And like I said, there was one snake that had like 35 fish or whatever, fingerling fish. But they didn't eat all the big ones. It was mainly the little ones. And they had plenty of little ones, I guess.
So you proved it wasn't that big a problem.
As big a problem as they were concerned about, yeah. And so they didn't go to that big expense of putting in the fences and all. So, anywho.
Used you for cheap labor, didn't they?
I was very cheap, yeah.
I was thinking, I think that would have been me, herpetology and all that. An easy way, if that was an interest to me, then someday I could go to work in a zoo instead of, take a lot less hard courses. Poorer pay from then on, but
Well, I was just thinking too, when I was in high school, we had gone through 10th grade, I guess, I had in Freeport, then we moved to Dallas. And so I went there the 11th and 12th grade to Bryan Adams High School. And Daddy started a new church. None there. He went out and visited people. We had a house that I guess Presbytery rented or something. It was just vacant, no walls in it. We set up folding chairs in there. Daddy went around and visited people, and he got the whole church started, Presbytery. But anyway, while I was in high school, I had a friend named Jimmy Mize, and he was a ham radio operator. He loved to have wall of transmitter and wall of receiver and all that. And he got me interested in it. And so I learned Morse code and all that kind of stuff, and da 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 da, all that. Learned how to do it. And that was in high school. So when I got out of high school and couldn't go on to college, didn't have the money, I joined the military. And they said, "What are your interests?" I said, "Well, I've just recently gotten really interested in, ham radio and that kind of stuff." So they put me in as a radio teletype operator. And so I used my code there, and I used the teletype too. And it was, I did that for I had an 8-year obligation, and it was 6 months active duty, and then 3.5 years of active reserve, going like once a month to meetings, and then a summer camp. And then when I got through that, then it was just 4 years inactive reserve, where they could just call me up if they wanted to. But I thought it was kind of neat, because all these guys were out there with their M1s and trumping around with all these things on it. Hey, I got to ride in an armored, coated thing with a radio transmitter here and receiver there, and armor plate and everything in the back of a 3/4-ton truck. I said, "Man, this is neat." And I said, "Boy, I'm glad with this one." Yeah. And then they said, "Oh, by the way, they try to knock out communications first. So they're going to come after you with bazookas and everything else, not just rifles, because rifles won't penetrate." But it was too late then. I'd already gone through. They waited until I got through, and then they told me that. Got the mercy.
Goodness.
But anyway, so that helped pay my way through college and everything too, going to those meetings and all.
When I went to college, Austin College, where Daddy had gone,
Sherman.
and stayed in the same dorm Daddy had stayed
I
in,
didn't know that.
and I had the same dorm mother he had.
No way.
She was an Army nurse. Mom Ramsey was her name.
My
And
goodness.
boy, she was tough as boot leather. I mean, I remember, she ran it. And back in those days, in the 1950s, late 55, and 56, 57, in those years, boys had a curfew. You had to be in by so-and-so time. And Mom Ramsey she was the general in charge. And her room was right there next to the front door. So you had to pass her door to go into the dorm. And I remember some guy had come in after curfew, several stories about her, and he didn't want to get caught. So he was going to run down the hall, take a 90-degree angle, go down that hall, and then turn the corner, rip his clothes off, and jump in the shower like he'd been in there all this time. She went clear into the shower, pulled that thing back, and hauled himself out of there and blessed him out. He still got in trouble. I mean, she was tough. But she would get us up on Sunday morning. "Hey, time to go to church." "Okay." But he had her for a dorm mother too. And that's really something. After all those years.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Luckett Hall.
Okay.
Austin College campus.
Yeah.
And you're talking about two of our family was in college. Well, I paid for my whole thing, my whole college. They didn't, not a dime. In fact, when they drove me to the first day of college, enrollment day, they let me out in downtown Sherman, Texas, to get a job. So I was going door to door looking for a job. And I went to this laundry dry cleaning place and started talking about, they said, "We don't need anybody with," "Well, have you ever been represented on the campus?" And "No, we haven't. That's an idea though." I said, "Well, and if I collect the stuff and you give me some tickets, could I call y'all to come pick it up? Because I don't have a car. I'll walk to town, whatever." "Well, yeah, we could do that." So we made this arrangement, and I would get a piece of the action for all that. So I would spend my afternoons, every afternoon, going around collecting dirty clothes, and put the kid's name and his door number, his room number, whatever, on the ticket, and I'd get a piece of that action. And it grew and grew, and I had a big bunch of customers. And in fact, I had some subcontractors in girls' dorms that were doing it under me. And so this guy would come out and had all that. And I found out later, he was really objecting to all that business, because that was really a front. He was selling whiskey and stuff out the back. This was kind of a front for his operation. I was working that man to death. Oh, me, what are we gonna do with this guy? He's getting us all these clothes. Well, so anyway, that's how I spent my afternoons. And of course, in meal times, I worked in the school cafeteria behind the counter. So everybody knew my name, and I didn't know anybody's name because here comes the whole campus through the, hey. So that took care of my meals and my afternoons.
In night.
And at nighttime, after I worked at supper, I would go downtown and work in the movie theater, making popcorn and collecting tickets and stuff. And then after it closed, and between the showings, I would pull this rope back there so it looked like the curtain would come, like it was automatic or something. Well, that was me back there doing that. And then after we closed it, I swept the thing out. And you start at the back and come downhill all the way down to the front. And by then there was this cloud of dust everywhere. Oh, me, so I learned how to sweep without flipping it up in the air. And to this day, of course, I'm still allergic to dust like crazy. And when I go to a cafe or anything, I've got to object to teach your people how to sweep without, tell them people are eating here. Why don't you sweep around your table when you're eating lunch or something? Well, and people don't see, it's like the mailman. Nobody came, you just don't see it. But the people that are sweeping in restaurants and cafes really cause dust to be in the air, and so your food is, well, anyway, to go back to the theater. After the theater closed and I swept up, then I would go, whatever time that was, walking across toward the other side of town and work at an IBM plant where they were making cards. They used to call them IBM cards. And it would be the size of something like that with holes all over it. And it would be maybe a color across the top. And we made those cards. We punched the holes. We put the ink on the thing. And it would be sold to the university for enrollment people.
Wasn't that in Dallas?
It was in Sherman at the IBM plant. And then when that thing closed, I would walk all the way back to the campus in time to get ready for serving breakfast. So the only time I could sleep was during class.
I know, and we had a class together, and he was always so sound asleep.
So
I
I flunked out year after year. I didn't have any time to study. And they asked, well, did you read the chapter from yesterday? Chapter? Read? So I try to fake it, of course, And what did Romeo say to Juliet and something? He said, Happy Valentine's Day. I don't know. I try to fake these things. Well, of course I would flunk. So I took all these classes, flunking, took them over and over and over. I took freshman English every year for about 2 or 3 years there. I was going to major in freshman English. So anyway, I'm still, till this day, I know a bunch of words. Go ahead, ask me a word. Anyway, I remember one of my professors was named Dr. Landrum, and he was very faculty-ish. Anyway, and I remember in one of the essays I put a character named Dr. Murdenall, which is Landrum backwards. He said, well, Mr. Yallum, anyway, he caught it and laid me flat. But anyway, so after a couple of years of absolutely just pouring money down the drain and not getting any credit for it, they said, Mr. Malloy, we recommend that you stay out a couple of years and then reapply. So I stayed out a couple of years and reapplied, and they wouldn't take me back.
Oh.
They would not take me back. So I said, well, you know what? I'm going to just stay out and go to work and just stockpile my earnings and then go to maybe a state university. If they're not going to take me here, they'd be a heck of a lot cheaper than this Presbyterian college. Yeah. It was for pre-med and pre-ministerial, whether Daddy went here or not. Margaret was there a piece of the time I was there. Our cousin Betty Guthrie was there a piece of that time. I started a fraternity while we were there, which is still there, and it was it's now a leading fraternity on the campus. Wow. All the other fraternities had some time out that they were closed for one reason or another, drinking too much or too much this or that. I've been just amazed at the people that have come through there. I know that one fellow that we hired, that we admitted to the fraternity the second year, that was 1957. We actually got it started. Chi Delta Eta fraternity, became president of a college in Florida, John Hitt.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah.
Betty dated him.
Did, Well, he was
Big.
I knew he was a big guy and rich. He had a Porsche or something he was driving around. But it's amazing because there was another little old two-bit fraternity that tried to get going, and I hated those guys. They were really snooty fellows. Anyway, I was so proud of what the fellows did after that. After going to Austin College, I worked for Texas Instruments for 5 years, stockpiling. Then I went to North Texas and sailed through there. Got my bachelor's and my master's finally. So here I am today, dumb as ever. But I got my degree. Did they pay for your education?
He's gonna make me look bad again.
Oh, did I?
You worked in the student center?
That was after I married.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Yeah.
You with the double bedroom. And the private bathroom.
Daddy had to take out a loan to put me through, but he
Okay.
paid it all back. I couldn't work.
Not in the past. I couldn't do that.
Richard, was your degree in music?
My degree was music. And boy, I had plenty of English background. So I taught English and music and math. Well, it looked like in Dallas, starting in 1965. In fact, I worked a couple of summers while I was teaching school in Dallas, working for the parks in Dallas as a manager of the swimming pool, public swimming pool.
I didn't know that.
And did you read about all the people drowning? Anyway, I was managing a pool out there, and nobody drowned. And got married in 65 and started working in Dallas in 65. Married Virginia Beasley, whom I met putting on the opera La Traviata. I was in the opera workshop, music department. She was in the dance department. She was at North Texas. It was called North Texas then. Something else now. It was North Texas State University, NTSU. So the sticker I put on the back of my car window was NUTS, nuts. But that's another story. Anyway, we met, I saw this chick dancing around. I said, hey, I got to meet this girl. So I'd try to giggle her every time she'd come around the dancing. So a year later, we finally had coffee, and I'm a real fast worker. So we finally met and married, and we've got 2 children now, Laura and Erin. Erin Wyndham, Laura Malloy. Laura lives in Austin as a dance instructor, has her own studio called 4 on the Floor, Austin, Texas. And she specializes in dances from the 20s. Erin has gone into, I told her, whatever you do, don't be a teacher. So what'd she do? She became a teacher. And then she went into administration. And now she's reporting directly to the superintendent here in Nacogdoches.
Liaison kind of between
Yes, she's
the community.
gets the community involved in backing the schools and getting kids exposed to vocational opportunities and what they would be interested in and what it's going to require of them. And she's really going to town on this stuff. And now other districts want to get this thing started in their town. And so I don't know where she's going with this, but she's going somewhere. But I'm proud of my 2 girls and their children, bless their hearts. But that was my college career. My master's is also in music ed. But when it looked like Dallas was phasing out the arts, that's when I left teaching music and became a math specialist. I remember the math teacher down the hall had this nice quiet room down there. He would have an LP play. I better explain to you people, that's a slow, 33 1/3
Long
speed, long play record. Yeah, there was records, big round flat things. And he'd have this nice music going. I was down there pulling my hair out. Kids every 30 minutes would come to me in a mass of 30, sweating it out from PE. Y'all cheated, come into my room for music. And then I had to bring them from that state to, singing a lovely life, and go out and have math and sit down and listen to nice music. I think, golly. So I decided to become a math specialist. So that's what happened. But as a math teacher, then they had me also teaching science and English. I was taught English all the way through that thing, but I really enjoyed teaching English too. That was I could have the kids for maybe a whole hour, maybe even 2 hours. And I could shut up for once. And singing and teaching music, you're either talking or you're singing the whole time. And the first month of school, I was laryngitis without a voice the whole time. And I'd have to start school with a record player with a microphone plugged in it so they could hear me whispering, "Please put that disc down and don't throw it through the window." Next.
No, I had a pretty dull life, I think. I was just going back to the Freeport days. Y'all went up, clear up to your present almost.
To our eyeballs.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking of fun things when we were growing up in Freeport. One of them was going out to Miss Hanson's house.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
An elderly lady in the church whose husband had
Widow.
passed on, and she lived by herself. But she had some acreage, and she grew strawberries, field of them. And we always had lots of strawberries in the summertime. And oh, my mother loved them. We had strawberry shortcake, lots. And she also had chickens. And we'd love just to go out to her place because it was just, roomy and big. And she had a relatively new house that had a fireplace in it.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a fireplace in our house. And so when we didn't have that many cold days either, but we'd go out there, and she took a baby mattress and covered in this green vinyl. And so we could put it on the floor, and we could sit on the front of the fireplace on that.
When you're down to
And
70
just enjoy it.
degrees,
Yeah.
we turn on the fire. And
But we always enjoyed. She'd cook for us, and we'd go out and feed the chickens. And every time whenever we go to leave, she'd say, "Well, I wish y'all could stay with me overnight." And she'd say that every time. So one night we were going out there, and we decided we'd be ready. So we all took our pajamas.
left me cold.
And so we didn't say anything about it, though. But when we were leaving, she said, "Well, if you just had your pajamas, you could spend the night." We said, "We've got them, we've got them."
Oh, I bet
And
she
it
loved
tickled her to
It did.
death.
I
Yeah.
can imagine.
She knew we really
Oh, yeah.
cared.
She did.
That's
Well, we were on such a limited income. Daddy was on such a limited income then that we had a little old lawnmower. It was electric,
Yeah.
and that cord would be run over. I don't know how many times. We had Band-Aids all over that thing. And the St. Augustine grass was kind of thick, and so you, and then burn out, and you got to wait till, which I appreciate. We get to wait a while while it cooled off. But Miss Hanson had a mower, a power mower. Well, it wouldn't pull itself, but it was powered, You pushed it.
Gasoline.
And so I would mow her acreage. Boy, she had a huge yard really just to help her out. But on the guise of saying, if we could borrow your mower, then I'll mow your yard and let me mow our yard with your mower as a trade-off. Well, our little old yard was nothing compared. She had this sloping front.
You know what? She would sell that grass ever so often from her front yard. It was thick St. Augustine, and she could sell it, and then it would come back up, replant it again, and that was part of our income.
Is there?
Mm.
Well, I remember mowing all that because it was long. I mean, you just keep mowing and just like mowing the prairie out there. But and I felt like this is a contribution. That sweet lady that was so kind to us, and she was really lots of fun to be around. We got out there and we had these, these family jokes that we'd share about Wilma the lion and all these
Wilma the
things.
lion.
Yeah, that shall go undefined. No point going. This swallowed stuff. And
Y'all remember in Freeport at Christmas time, that back then everybody sent Christmas cards, and they were all about the same shape, just like this.
yeah,
And in our house, it was a Dow house in the living room. There was a board about this wide, down from the ceiling, that went all the way around the room.
Yeah, it came out about that far.
No, there was a shelf that
Yeah,
did,
that's what I'm saying.
but then there was the board still went clear all the way up, down, dropped like a
you're not talking about the window seat.
No, up above.
And
About
when the
this high
Christmas
from the
cards we
ceiling.
got, as part of the decorations, as we got, we'd stick them up on that.
Yeah.
And it would go all the
All
way
the way
around the
out.
living room and the dining room and clear back to the
How
front
about
door
that?
again. And it always looked so festive, you know.
Imagine.
But they were all about the same size, so it wasn't like you getting out all weird things.
I don't remember that at all, huh?
You don't?
No.
I do.
Thank you. But it was pretty.
But that shelf that was
Yes, it
down,
came
it was
out.
about that wide.
Oh, that reminds me of something.
Oh, that's right.
And I would climb up there and hide back up there.
Oh, but
That's
that
where you
reminds
were.
me of something else.
What?
Mother and Daddy had gone out. All of us had gone out, but you were at home with, I don't know, Tommy Ty or somebody. You had a boyfriend over spending the night. And we were all gone, and when we got back in, y'all were in your room with the baseball bat. That they had heard some kind of a noise. And something had fallen off of that top shelf up there, and y'all were back ready to get what the burger or whatever. it
John
was.
and me?
No, he had a friend.
I had a friend over there, Jimmy Porter or somebody, Bob Carney.
Probably the cat had just jumped down or something.
Probably so. Mary Ann.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a cat that was 3 colors, multicolored.
Beautiful.
And over her lifetime, it was 76 or 79, 72
72
kittens over time.
Oh, my goodness.
And we never had trouble giving away, except for maybe, I think there was 1 or 2. There was a yellow tomcat, I think. We had trouble giving away. I think we might have given it to Miss Hanson finally. Because you have to take care of,
Nice.
mice and everything out there in the country. But out of those 79, I think it was just like 1.
You know why she was named Mary Ann?
I do.
I don't.
Tell us, Richard.
So there.
Tell us, Richard.
Well, it was
Why was his name Mary Ann?
Short.
Mary Ann. Mother and Daddy got this cat and named it Mary Ann because it was
Marriage.
their marriage anniversary. So that Mary Ann was for the marriage anniversary.
I didn't know that, or I didn't remember it.
Yeah.
Huh.
And she had so many. She was always pregnant, and the kittens.
We had
You
no
won.
fun with it.
You got one, and we'll give you 2 more since you were the.
Oh, boy.
But
Take a
those
basket
kids were
of-
so much fun to watch, and them
Oh, they're cute.
arching their back and chasing each other back and forth inside, racing around the house. Of course, when they sharpened their claws on the furniture, Mother.
No, never. Back in Freeport too. I played the organ for church.
Yes,
and
you did.
Julian Williams was the choir director, and he would get with me during the week one afternoon. He worked at Dow as a chemist, and go over the anthem that I'd get ready for choir practice, and he would just work with me and beat out the time, and bless his heart, it was just a free job anyway.
He wasn't a musician by training. He was
No, but
Chemist,
chemist.
wasn't he?
He was a
Yeah.
chemist.
Chemist.
Yeah, but
anyway, he encouraged me to start a children's choir at church too, so I did and directed that for, I don't know, a couple of years, I guess, when I was probably a senior in high school and they were probably junior or 10 to 12 years old or something. But that was fun and I enjoyed that.
That's good.
Talk about children, I did do a little bit of babysitting growing up. 35 cents an hour was my top pay, I
wow,
think.
yeah, those were the days.
No, that was the Lansboro's kids.
Yeah.
3 of them, and she paid the least. They could afford much more, but I did get 50 cents an hour, I think, from the Bryans across the street. He was a lawyer, and
You babysat there too.
yeah, Shelby when he was little.
Yeah. So we.
I did too. Did
I
you
think
ever
I did
babysit?
too. And I think I was up to 50 cents an hour.
Did y'all get to see their television over there?
I went.
That's the
Yeah,
first
Now, the
time I
Braswells
saw
had
them.
one that was like 8 inches. I remember that big console like this, an 8-inch screen.
Yeah,
that
Whoa,
was
that
the
was
first one.
wow.
Black and white,
Yeah, black and white, 8-inch screen.
Milton Berle.
Yeah.
When when was it? Eisenhower was president when they installed it.
Oh, we don't go back that far.
We know you do.
Go ahead.
Well, they got out of school to watch the inauguration, and I went over to the Bryan's house, and there was a bunch of kids over there. Not that we watched much, but we got out of school.
35 cents is 35.
But it was, having TV was something big, which we didn't have.
Well, back to
Yes,
the choir director. What was his name again?
Julian Williams.
Julian
oh,
Williams.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I was in the choir too, in Julian's choir. Margaret played. I think Mother may have sang it. I don't remember what she did, but I was in that choir. And Julian also directed the choir in Angleton, another Presbyterian church in Angleton. I don't know, a different night of the week. And I went with him one time over there, and saw that there was this cute girl in there. So I thought, hey, I'm going to go with him to these practices. So I volunteered. You know, I'd like to help you out, Julian, in that Anglican choir. Would you mind if I? Yeah, I'll be happy to take you over there. Well, of course, he took that as a compliment for his directing. And here's Richard. Well, at that time I was Dick. Took me to those practices over there. Well, in the meantime, I finally had the courage to actually speak to the girl and found out she was 12 years old and I was in high school, so that didn't work out. But in the meantime, Julian thought I was such a good guy, following his footsteps and wanting to follow his leadership and mentorship, that he invented as a chemist out there at Dow a cement that was non-porous, that he could make a box out of this oxychloride cement that he invented that was weatherproof. It was heavy as all get out, and he was trying to figure out what to do with it. So he had made coffee tables with this beautiful swirly concrete on top. It's concrete about that thick, like a big amoeba or something, protozoan of some sort, you know, modern design, and with legs underneath it. And he says, you know, we can make coolers out of this thing where you can mail milk and things that you don't want to have,
Perishable.
ice cream and perishable stuff. And what he did was he wanted to give me his invention, and with a plan of going forward with this thing, he called it Dick's Box, D-I-X for my box. I didn't follow up on that, bless his heart, but that was, talk about giving his all. And I'm sorry, it was based on what he thought was my wanting to be in his choirs and stuff. So anyway, the Dick's Box course didn't make it because of the styrofoam lightweight stuff that does the job. Yeah,
Right after he invented
flowers and anything that you want to have
out. Lightweight.
over the rails to keep things cool or cold or hot.
If it hadn't been for the styrofoam, it might have sold.
It might have.
But the styrofoam came out right.
And I wouldn't have had to
at
teach
that
school.
Yeah, Daddy had the flip top toothpaste lid that he's got designed on that.
He learned about copyrights and stuff like
Yeah.
that from studying from his inventions, the air conditioned shoe, and as you say, the toothpaste cap. He also wrote. He
Listening.
authored a. Well,
Marching
he
order.
wrote something for the newspapers called Listening. And
Marching order first,
for the
then became
day.
listening when we moved down. So.
But he also wrote a booklet
On leaving the grave.
on leaving the grave
Yeah.
to give the grieving family and getting copyrights on these things. He became pretty familiar with a lot of the requirements for inventions and things.
He could do that, but he couldn't carry a tune.
Yeah, he could sing.
He tried,
And he knew,
yeah, but
Yeah.
he was always happy and
always.
whistled whenever he worked, especially when my mother was having him doing little projects around the house, and he was always happy. I never saw him, and the worst he would ever say was "oh me."
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It was horrible, revolting development of some kind.
Yeah.
Oh, me.
But I gotta tell you this about one time they were having a church dinner in Freeport, and they had the long tables, you know, all through the fellowship hall. Thing was full of people, and they were sitting kind of in the middle, Mother, Daddy, and in the middle of the meal, they got to talking,
See,
and
this
got-
is the pastor
the
and the congregation out there.
and they got louder and louder, and
Mother,
they
Daddy.
just got in this argument, and they just started getting to it, and people started getting quiet and looking, and all of a sudden Daddy hits her, and then she hits back, and they got going really fast like that, and it looked like they were really beating each other up, and people were horrified.
Pastor is white.
And the routine was, one of them was clapping under the table
Yeah.
while the other one was doing this.
Yeah.
You saw and you heard and you believed.
Oh, that is unbelievable.
Mother, Daddy, though.
Up to something.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
But we had a good time on vacation.
Yes.
We've talked about that before.
Yeah.
The trips, just laugh and laugh and laugh.
Going to the beach was fun.
Going
So
to the beach
what,
was fun.
what kind of trips did y'all get to take?
Not
Well, Glenwood, Mount Ida.
That was it, to see our relatives.
That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Tyler, we'd go there, see grandmama and
But
granddad.
we didn't ever stay long. I think once we
Where did
went
they
to
live?
Big Spring.
Tyler, my dad's parents did.
Yeah.
And then mother's side of the family was in Arkansas.
Well, we had a routine too. Whenever we would have visitors come to Freeport to see us from out of state or somewhere, we had a regular routine. We would take them to Houston, to the Battleship, Texas. We'd ride the ferry boat from
Yeah,
Port Bolivar to wherever it went
Galveston.
and back.
yeah.
And you know, all these were free. You ride a free ferry, you go through the Battleship, Texas. I mean, preacher salary, what do you want, guys? We're not taking you to the penthouse for supper. So,
We had a lot of good
They were-
friends come from, missionaries and things would come
That's
from
right.
and speak in church
Yeah.
and other
Stay in our
people.
house
It
with
seemed
us.
like nearly every Sunday we had somebody for dinner that was unexpected. Mother always planned for somebody else,
Yeah.
No.
and it was nice.
Did she
it was
make
good.
the pies?
Oh yeah,
Oh, she
my
made
next door
every-
neighbor said
yeah.
Betsy could make a cherry pie as quick as you could turn around. Said she'd be over at her house talking. Says near time for dinner. But oh, I gotta go make a pie. You know?
Oh, I bet that'd been a lot.
But she always had a
Yeah.
Sunday roast.
Yes.
mother could cook like unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't know how blessed we were.
That's true.
And I did not know even until I realized that she married a man who had grown up and his mother couldn't cook. So he thought he hated all this stuff till he married her. And she had mother's recipe. Ooh, I do like this. Golly, wow. Well, he's just a world of good food.
But Sundays was special with the roast.
Yes.
Oh,
And
yeah,
I
we had
forgot
the
what else do we have? There's
Well,
always
I know-
dessert.
Potatoes,
Green beans.
roll,
and,
yeah.
rolls,
Whatever.
yeah. A lot of times homemade rolls.
Yeah.
Oh.
And the mashed potato, everything.
Mashed potatoes.
But she had this Sunday tablecloth that was like lace, and all
Yeah,
pretty stuff.
that's right, white.
Back in those days, you had tablecloths, I guess. Even restaurants don't have tablecloths now, even the Fredonia Hotel.
You remember at breakfast how we had devotionals every morning
Yeah.
before we went to school at breakfast, and Daddy always led them, and he had them different ways. Sometimes he would have a Bible character he would describe, and we would have to guess who it was. And another time we learned that with the ABCs, a verse for every letter in the alphabet, and we'd go around saying those. And he'd describe somebody, and well, who am I? And we have to guess who that
Yeah.
was in the Bible. But he'd make it really interesting. And,
Yeah.
Oh,
and
that's so super.
he would wake us up in the morning. No, Mother, I think, would bring us a glass of orange juice. Daddy was cooking
It
breakfast.
was laying flat in bed to give you some orange. You gotta get up or you're gonna pour it all over you. So that got us up.
And then, she'd help us iron something to wear or something,
Yeah.
whatever we needed. So we had a routine every morning. And
Well,
I know Saturday nights you had to lay out your clothes for the next day.
Yeah.
Daddy had to shine his shoes. And
Yeah, that's
everything.
right. I remember
forgotten
that.
that.
Yeah,
Polish
me
and-
too. Yeah.
It was getting ready for Sunday.
Buffer.
And you could not go to a movie Saturday night that lasted past midnight because that was going into Sunday.
Yeah.
You couldn't go to the show on Sunday.
That's right.
But in Sunday afternoons then, they always took naps, and we did generally too, or
Yeah.
were quiet at least after we read the
Laid in
Bible.
bed. Anyway.
About that scene right there, we were about 2 blocks from the Brazos Riverbed, where they had boats going up and down on
Motorboats.
Sunday afternoon,
Motorboats.
while we're laying 2 blocks away trying to take our naps. And to this day, when we hear, boy,
Get sleep because that put us to sleep.
And here-
Motorboats going up and down the old Brazos River.
and we're in our 80s now, still.
Don't even need that now.
That's right.
Yeah.